Hey guys, welcome back to my training series where we follow my Hypertrophy 1.0 program throughout its entirety. So we're doing every single set and rep for the whole entire program. It is a push-pull leg split, so we're doing it 6 days a week. You guys can download the program in the description, completely free, no strings attached. It'll just send you to a Google Docs, and you can click Save as Template for your own. So you guys can follow it alongside me and run it alongside me if you so choose. Anyway, today is the end of week 3, and we're finishing off this week with legs. And on this particular day, I'm going to be starting with the barbell Romanian deadlift. On this one, I'm actually going up 20 pounds, so it's kind of a big jump. So therefore, I'm not going to have any like strict rep range in mind. I'm just going to do as many as I can that feels right, and I'm going to try my best to hit true failure. It's kind of difficult for me to hit true failure on leg exercises that are super fatiguing, like this one in particular. But I'm going to do my best, guys. I'm going to do my best because that's all you really can do, right? Strapping up and I'm belting up because especially with a jump like this, I want as much stability and comfort that I can get. The reason why I'm jumping up this much is mainly for the fact that last time I got like 10 or 12 reps on every single set, which just seems like a lot for something that's so systemically fatiguing like the barbell RDL. All right, enough chatted. Let's get into it. Really just going to focus on getting that controlled, long, eccentric and that forceful, powerful, concentric. I'm going to track it over your legs. Whew. Okay, another rep in my form definitely would have looked kind of ugly. I'm very happy with that set. I got, 10 reps? My form was pretty darn perfect, I think. If you guys disagree, please leave me a comment. I take it all as constructive criticism. After all, I'm here to improve, not like say that I'm the best or anything. You know, this is all about improvement. So I'm definitely going to need some long rest periods in between these sets. These are extremely taxing sets. You know, anything where you're hip hinging in this regard, especially when you're holding the bar, I mean, you're using your whole posterior chain. What that means is pretty much every muscle on your back and on the backside of your body. Use your hamstrings, your glutes, your whole entire back, especially your low back. And alongside that, with a barbell variation like this, I'm also using my grip strength to a large degree. Even with straps, I'm still gripping it. Versus somebody like Good Morning that would use all of the muscles except for your grip. So, okay, guys, now we're on set 2. I thought I'd mix up the camera angle a little bit so you guys can kind of look at my form and see how it's looking. I think it's looking pretty dang good, though, and I'm actually so pleased with that last set. I mean, we went up 20 pounds, and I still hit the same exact reps that I did last week. And in my opinion, I think that my form was better, too. So that's a form of progressive overload on 3 fronts. We increased weight, we increased form, and we also increased well, I guess we didn't increase the reps. We didn't actually increase the reps, but I think that my tempo was probably a lot better too. So tempo, technique, form, or tempo, technique, and weights. You know, that's still 3 fronts. I mean, that's how you do it, guys. If I've said it before and I'll say it again, you guys got to be tracking what you're doing in the gym. You know, down to a T if you can. I mean, what I used to do when I was tracking weights in the gym is I would just write like the weight for like one of the sets, and then I would just assume that I did that same weight in reps and everything for each and every set. In this program, and how I'm going to be doing it from now on, is you record each and every set that you do. So there's no like, just batching, just assuming that they're all exactly the same, because that's, after all, that's never the case. You may not go up in weight intra exercise for the sets, but you may increase something else. You may increase your reps. You may do less reps, more likely less reps, because you're more fatigued after, when doing multiple sets. And that's something that needs to be written down, because even if you do really good on like set one and you match it, set two may be totally different that last week. And like, even if say you beat that set two, that's still a form of progressive overload, because the last week you didn't get that same number. So any improvements, no matter how small, still counts. And therefore you guys should really be tracking it. Different camera angle coming right up. There you go, another successful set. But hey, if I only got 8, you better believe I'm still going to report it as 8, so that next time I can try and get 9 or 10 or 11 or 12. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that was another great set. So I'm pretty pleased with it. We're going to try and finish it off, the third set, get 10 repetitions once again. And if I do that, then every single set from last week will be improved in some regard. We won't be missing out on hitting that rep range, that rep target, if you will. So, okay, I decided to mix up the camera angle one more time for you guys, so that you get, some different perspectives. First time we put it here, second time there. Now we got right here. What was I going to mention? Oh, I was going to ask if any of you have like a favorite hip hinge exercise. I can think of, here's like a few that just come to mind. We got the barbell variation of the RDL. We got the conventional deadlift. We got the sumo deadlift. Those are all hip hinges. We got good mornings in every fashion. You could do a Smith machine. You could do a barbell. You could do dumbbell RDLs and dumbbell variation deadlifts. You could do deficit deadlifts. You could even do something like a hip thrust. That's a hip hinge. Let me know what your guys' favorite variation of a hip hinge really is. Maybe your top 3 if you can't choose. For me, I've always just liked the Romanian deadlift. I used to I used to hammer the crap out of the conventional deadlift back when I would really specialize in strength training. Nowadays, my goal is more physique focused, so I'm trying to get bigger. It's in the name of the program, Hypertrophy 1.0. However, I still do care about strength, but I think that this variation of a hip hinge lends itself, it's definitely one of the best variations for hypertrophy, in my opinion. And the reason for that is, number one, if you're doing like conventional deadlift, you're losing a lot of the tension that you could be building once you are setting the plates and the bar on the ground. As soon as it's touching the ground, you're losing a ton of that tension, because you're no longer lifting it anymore. You can still kind of keep some slack in the bar, but the tension is dramatically decreased. And after all, your muscles really only know tension. That's all that your muscles are really after. That's what it is required to enable hypertrophy, is tension. So by shortchanging it, I just don't think it's the best option. And then this one, you're not actually touching the ground, but you're also like providing a great stretch and you're really focusing on that hamstring and glute growth versus like the conventional deadlift. There's a lot more back involved, in my opinion. But I mean, you could still use the conventional deadlift for hypertrophy if you guys like it, There's no wrong answers. That's what I love about lifting, You can get super creative with stuff and still get as many gains as the next guy as long as you're programming it correctly, Okay, let's get this third set. I'm gonna try and keep it like set 1 and 2. Keep that quality, keep that consistency, keep that power, all that jazz. Okay, let's dissect that one, shall we? I still think that was a great set. I don't think it was quite as good as set 1 and 2. I think I kind of rushed it a little bit longer. I mean, if I were to have a timer while I was doing the actual set, I bet there would be less seconds on it, on the duration. However, as far as final sets go, I'm not going to dog on myself too much. You know what I mean? We still got it done, and this is one hell of a lift. It doesn't get much harder than this exercise, in my opinion. I mean, of course, like Olympic lifting, like power cleans and all that jazz. That stuff's tough. But in terms of like conventional lifting stuff, it's a tough one. Up next, we're going to hit some of the leg press, the plate loaded variation. This is the primary quadricep movement of today. And one of you guys actually left me a comment which said that the higher up my feet go, the more like hamstrings I'm going to be using and less quads. And the lower down that my feet are, quads are going to be used. And this is something that I already knew, but I completely forgot to use this form of thinking in an exercise like this for whatever reason. It never even crossed my mind. I was just going where my feet felt the most comfortable. But it's 100% true, the further down that your feet are on the actual pad like this, the more in line your quads are to be working. You know what I mean? And then the further up, the more you're going to be involving other muscle groups and less of the quads. And it just has to do with where you're strongest when enacting knee extension, which is the primary function of the quads. It's that knee extension. So when you're pushing like this, if you're way out here, like your foot is way further up, then you're not going to have the best biomechanics and levers to be able to enact the most force output through your quad. Versus if your feet are lower, you're going to be more stacked. It's going to be easier to use as much force and power in your quads as you can. So I'm going to play around with that today. And the reason why I was doing the other one, besides comfortability, is it was easier to get, I guess it still is kind of comfortability, but it made it easier for me to sink in and get that full range of motion, which I desire so much. But I've done a couple of warm-up sets, and yes, I warmed up on this alongside as well as the RDL. Whenever you're training a new muscle group for the session, you should do some warm-up sets. So I did a few warm-up sets. So I should be relatively good to go for that full range of motion, more quad-focused position, okay? Additionally, and this is the last thing I'll say for this set, I went up 20 pounds. So we're doing a little bit more weight. But last time I got 14 reps, which is a lot in my book. So I'm just going to try to aim for, I'm not going to put a number on it. We're just going to do as many as we can. So already my feet are a few inches lower. And we're going to try this position. I like to kind of bring my toes out a bit, because I find that when you exteriorly rotate your feet, then your femur kind of rotates a little bit too, and it makes it easier for your knees to go backwards, and it helps your form if you guys are struggling with that. Okay. That felt like a really good set to me. I immediately already feel my quads working to a much greater degree, which is nice because this is our primary quad movement of the day, and it's a leg press. I mean, what else are you going to want to be working? So I'm very happy with that. I'm going to be doing this for the next set too. But man, you can already feel the difference. That's crazy. It's crazy what just one little change in form can do for an entire lift, for better or for worse. In this case, it's to my benefit, but I'm telling you guys, the magnitude that form comes into play should not be misunderstood. You know, you guys really need to be paying attention to that key aspect. I rested a good 2 to 3 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 3.5, 2.5 to 3.5. So I think I'm good to go for this one. I reviewed the footage and my depth was excellent, best that I've probably ever had. So I think I'm on the right track to be getting more improved with exercise. Also, you guys like my little chain? A little bit of bling today. Mixing it up. I'm gonna start with Okay, I got 10 again. So as far as consistency is concerned, I'm getting straight A's. I think that's pretty good. Something that I like to mention is when I'm doing these, I'm like flattening my back into the pad and not letting it move too much. And additionally, I'm grabbing these handlebars, not the safety ones that move back and forth, but the actual welded ones to the machine, holding on to these puppies for dear life. Like my life depends on it. I'm really like using these as anchor points, if you will, so that I don't sway too much while doing this lift. And I think it's just a good rule of thumb. Whenever you can add in an extra layer of stability to your exercises, if your goal is hypertrophy, then you absolutely should. It's like if you're doing like a Bulgarian split squat or something, I love to hold on to an object in front of me, like a railing or a wall, a shelf, whatever it may be, and then hold on to that with one hand to enforce stability while I grip a dumbbell with the other while, you know, I'm doing the Bulgarian split squat. And I found that I can just lift so much more while doing that, because that exercise by nature is very unstable. It does not have very much stability. And therefore, if you can add in any stability whatsoever, your numbers are going to skyrocket. I promise you. I have found that a lot of people, and especially myself in the past, tend to rush the final set of leg exercises because I felt like, I've done enough. So why do I have to put that much effort in at the very end? I can skim a little bit off the top in terms of, not working as hard, and it'll be okay. Well, I'm trying my best not to do that anymore, especially since I wrote myself a program and I'm following a very, very good periodized program, in my opinion. And so we're going to be treating this last set of the plate loaded leg press the same as the first and second set. And that same philosophy went into the first exercise that we performed, the barbell RDL. I tried my best at the last set, even though I don't think it was quite to the same degree. It was still like totally good in my opinion. Two more. Yeah, I'll take it. That was 3 excellent sets in my book. I think that there could have definitely been room for maybe like maybe 1.5 reps at the very end for a little bit of icing on the cake in some regard. But overall, I think that those were great sets. I'm definitely going to be feeling this one tomorrow. So I intended to do the lying hamstring or the prone hamstring curl next, because there's a good rule of thumb. I like to alternate body parts. I don't like doing the same body part for 2 exercises in a row, because I like to give it a little bit of a gap where it can recover. However, that exercise is being used, so we're just going to skip to the next one and break that rule for now. We're going to do the quad extension, and I really like this one because it hits the rectus femoris, which is a part of the quad that isn't really hit usually on like squats and leg presses. So that particular muscle in the quadricep is mainly responsible for knee extension, which is what we're doing in the leg extension. So I'm keeping the weight the same because it was pretty challenging last time. Last time I filmed it off camera, but today, since the gym's pretty quiet, I have the opportunity to actually film it. So I'm going for 12. That time I actually got 13, so I'm very, very happy with that. Like I said before, that's progressive overload right there. That's what we want. We want to increase in some type of training variable each and every session. I just did it. So there you go. Great start. With an exercise like this, I find that it doesn't need as much recovery time. And I've spoken about this before. This is a single joint exercise, and as a good rule of thumb, just something to follow on, not with every single exercise, but these are averages. Anything that's in isolation or single joint exercise usually isn't going to require as much rest as something, say, a multi-joint or a compound exercise. So that's just an easier way to think about how long am I going to need to rest on this. Something like the RDL that we started with, a ton of time. You're going to need a ton of time on something like that. Go for 13. Definitely a bit harder of a set, but I still got 13. There's nothing like a quad burn, I'll tell you that much. Little form tidbit, just like on the leg press. Same deal. I'm grasping these handlebars for dear life, and I'm bracing my back against the pad. I have this sucker all the way back, because the further back it is, the more of a stretch you're gonna get on your quadriceps. So if you're getting that full range of motion, there's gonna be a greater stretch, versus if you're bent forward, there's less of a stretch. If you're back, there's more of a stretch. And I've said it a trillion times, and I'll continue saying it. You want that weight to stretch for growth. It's gonna enable at least like 10 to 20% more growth overall than if you were to not do that aspect of the lift. Okay? So just by doing that little form change, and then grasp on the handlebars for stability, you're getting a stability component, plus you're getting a maximum stretch component. Win-win. Okay, this may not be quite enough rest, but I think I'm good to go. Hell yeah. Okay. 3 good sets, all were an increase of at least 1 rep. All right, the prone hamstring curl is still taken, so we're just gonna move on and finish up calves, and then probably end with that exercise, which is all good in my book. Especially for today, I don't really mind if I'm kind of shifting the calf movements around, not a big deal. But anyway, we're gonna do 5 sets on the standing calf raise machine. I upped it by 5 pounds, and it looks like I got 12 repetitions per set last time. So I'm gonna try and get to that. We're up to 80 pounds now. I'm just gonna focus on that form, get those reps. Okay, I'm gonna go up to 85 pounds because it felt a little bit slightly easy, and we never want it to be easy. Whenever something starts off really hard, and then you start to close the gap in that effort range, and it starts to become easy. Say you're barbell bench pressing 135, the bar in 45s, and you can only do it for 1 rep. Well, 6 months later, you can do it for 10. Should you stay at 135? Hell no. No. You should keep pushing up. You should still keep trying your best and getting better and better as you can. Standing calf raise machine is one of my all-time favorite calf exercises. It's because with this variation, you're hitting the whole entire calf, but you're also like pretty locked into place, and you can easily adjust the load that you're adding to your body. Easily adjust it. It's not like something, it's not like you're doing a body weight calf exercise and then you have to like manually add weight in some regard. No. This machine is crafted to have progressive overload in place. Luckily for me, I don't need to rest long in calf exercises. So get right into it. Something that I was tempted to do at the very end there was kind of, here we go back to that quad extension, kind of push and extend my knee in order to assist the weight up. With a calf raise of this caliber, you don't want your limbs to be totally locked out. You don't want your knee totally locked out. You don't want it to bend to where you may be tempted to use other muscles, to help lift the weight up. And therefore, I like to have a slight bend, and I'm really trying my hardest not to allow other muscles to take over. So we're trying to train the calves here. I believe that this is 4. That one was definitely more of a challenging set than the other ones, probably due to my shorter rest periods. I mean, after all, of the least amount of duration that you're enacting in between your sets, the more fatigue is going to be built up for the total duration of your sets too. It's almost like you're kind of like one set is bleeding into the next in some regards. If you guys are worried about that, then definitely shorten your rest times. I'm not worried about that for this particular movement because I still hit my rep goal with pretty much the same form that I've been doing the whole time. All right, guys, I finally got it. We're going to do the prone hamstring curl, and this is going to finish off the hamstrings. I like this exercise in combination with something like an RDL because the RDL is a multi-joint exercise like I talked about earlier. So we're getting a lot more muscle groups involved in the exercise as well as just the hamstrings. And that in that exercise, you're actually lengthening the hamstrings, which is going to provide a deep, deep stretch on them, which is great. This one, you're not getting as deep of a stretch. However, you are getting a very concentrated and powerful contraction. So whenever you guys can provide a little bit of both, a little bit of the best of both worlds, I think you should. Anyway, I'm going up 5 pounds. We're going from 95 to 100. I'm going to try and hit over 10 reps. Let's get after it. Okay, I got 12. And there you go. That's progressive overload right there. We went up 5 pounds, hit the same reps. And I think that my form was better too. I was really focusing on controlling that eccentric, that lowering phase, really controlling on the way down, then exploding on the way up, the concentric phase. I think that is an amazing tempo if you guys can ever use that and you're trying to gain hypertrophy. It's probably a good way to do it. Anyways, I love this exercise. It's just always felt really good for my anatomy. If you guys don't like it, I can think of a few alternatives. For example, you could do the seated variation where you're actually curling underneath. Let's see, I actually do that on day 3 of each week. Additionally, you could do something like a Nordic curl. Those are extremely, extremely difficult. I could probably only get like 1 or 2 full ones, if that. Definitely some assistance is needed for something like that, but you know. Um, you can definitely work up, and those will get you freaking strong as heck. You know, it's gonna get you extremely strong. That's something that I think that I may play around with in the future. It's the thing with lifting. I said it earlier today, but it's so much fun to just figure out what works best for you, you know, to play around with things, get creative with things from an early age, 15, 16, 17, 18. I would create my own workout programs. I was obsessed. It was like a form of, it was like a creative outlet for me. I still have some of them. My very, very early programs that I made, which were full of supersets and drop sets and a bunch of intensity techniques just to keep things fresh and fun. Is that numero dos? Oh. That time was only 10, so honestly not ideal. I'm probably hitting my breaking point. I'm a little exhausted. I'm actually hitting a late night sesh instead of like a afternoon sesh because of my work schedule. Just what you gotta do, sometimes you gotta craft the gym around your life instead of crafting your life around the gym. It's just gotta be that way. But anyway, I think that this last set is the last one that I'm going to record because the gym is closing soon and I just really want to bang out the last exercise, which for me is going to be the additional calf machine, the one where you're semi-seated. I love that machine, but I'll save you guys the recording. I figure that a lot of you probably don't really care to see my calf training anyway. It's not a huge point of interest, but let's finish this up. I'm gonna post some like retrospect video. Then we're gonna move on to the next program and things that I want to change and improve upon. So thank you guys so much for watching. See you in 2 days for week 4, day 1.